As the South China Sea becomes the battleground for global power struggles, who will dominate this resource-rich region? From the shocking 2016 Hague ruling to the diplomatic maneuvers of the Philippines and rising tensions between China and the U.S., the story of the South China Sea grows more complex and intense. In 2025, Philippine President Marcos Jr. presents a bold condition. If China ceases its aggressive actions in the South China Sea, the Philippines will consider removing the U.S. missile defense system. China responds fiercely while the Philippines holds firm to its sovereignty. The situation intensifies. Where will it all lead? As great powers clash and national interests collide, who will shape the future of the South China Sea? Will confrontation continue or will negotiations prevail? All of this will be revealed in South China Sea Storm. In this turbulent world, truth is concealed and justice is distorted. But history tells us that ideas are indestructible and resistance never fades. This is V for Vision, revealing reality through stories, illuminating the future with history. We deconstruct power, reshape the truth, and let the silenced voices be heard once more. Ideas are bulletproof. Since the ruling of the Permanent Court of Arbitration in the Hague on the South China Sea arbitration case on July 12, 2016, the situation in the South China Sea has remained complex and ever-changing. The ruling denied China's historical rights to resources within the 9-dash line and supported the Philippines' claims within its Exclusive Economic Zone, EEZ. However, this legal decision did not calm the waves of the South China Sea. Instead, it triggered even more intricate geopolitical struggles. After the ruling was announced, the Chinese government swiftly declared its rejection of the decision, emphasizing its indisputable sovereignty over the islands and waters of the South China Sea.
对于这样一个程序和法律适用牵强附会、证据和事实认定漏洞百出的仲裁案，中国人民根本不会接受，国际上一切主持公道人们也都不会认同。第二，中国不接受、不参与仲裁，恰恰是在依法维护。
At the same time, China accelerated its island building efforts, engaging in large-scale land reclamation, constructing airstrips, and deploying military facilities, attempting to solidify its strategic advantage through established facts. The then president of the Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte, adopted a China policy markedly different from that of his predecessors. He chose to set aside the arbitration ruling in favor of developing bilateral relations in exchange for economic and infrastructure investments. In multiple speeches, he stressed that confronting China was not a wise course of action, stating that the Philippines cannot afford the consequences of a war with China. Under his leadership, the Philippine government downplayed the South China Sea dispute and focused on economic cooperation with China. This approach led to significant Chinese investments in the Philippines, particularly in infrastructure projects under the Belt and Road Initiative. Chinese companies secured major construction projects, including bridges, highways, railways, and energy development. Additionally, trade agreements were signed, making China the Philippines' largest trading partner. However, this policy sparked intense domestic controversy. Opposition politicians, senior military officials, and segments of the public criticized Duterte's administration for being overly pro-China, arguing that such a stance weakened the Philippines' territorial claims in the South China Sea and enabled China's continued expansion in the region. Critics pointed out that while China gained economic benefits, it did not cease its military activities in the South China Sea. In 2019, a Chinese fishing vessel sank a Philippine boat near Recto Bank, Reed Bank, within the Philippines EEZ, leaving 22 Filipino fishermen adrift at sea. This incident fueled anti-China sentiment in the country, with many viewing it as a violation of Philippine sovereignty. Duterte's response was seen as too weak, failing to effectively defend national interests. Additionally, Duterte's China policy affected the Philippines' long-standing alliance with the United States. He once threatened to terminate the Visiting Forces Agreement, VFA, with the U.S., a move that alarmed senior military officials, as it would impact the country's defense capabilities. However, after receiving a new round of military aid from the U.S., Duterte eventually decided to suspend the termination of the agreement. While Duterte's pragmatic diplomacy secured substantial Chinese investments, many believed his approach compromised the nation's sovereignty, failing to counteract China's expansionist actions. This set the stage for a policy shift under his successor, President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. As time passed, the South China Sea remained turbulent. In early 2025, President Marcos Jr. presented China with a condition.
Let's make a deal with China. Stop claiming our territory. Stop harassing our fishermen and let them have a living. Stop ramming our boats. Stop water cannoning our people. Stop firing lasers at us. And stop your aggressive and coercive behavior. And I'll return the Typhoon missiles.
If China ceased its acts of aggression and coercion in the South China Sea, the Philippines would consider dismantling the UC-deployed Typhoon mid-range missile system. The Typhoon system was first deployed in northern Philippines in April 2024 as part of the Salaknib 24 joint military exercise. This marked its first appearance in the first island chain, with its missiles capable of reaching over 2,000 kilometers covering China's southeastern coast as well as critical areas in the South China Sea and the Taiwan Strait. The system is highly mobile, transportable via heavy airlift, and can be rapidly deployed to operational zones. China strongly opposed this deployment, repeatedly demanding the Philippines remove the system, arguing that it exacerbated geopolitical tensions and threatened regional stability. Marcos Jr. countered that if China ceased its territorial claims and harassment of Filipino fishermen, he would consider dismantling the missile system. However, the system was recently redeployed closer to Manila, provoking China's condemnation as a dangerous and provocative move. Philippine Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro dismissed demands to remove the system, asserting that it was necessary to strengthen national defense and uphold sovereignty. Against this backdrop, tensions between the Philippines and China in the South China Sea have continued to escalate. In October 2024, during an ASEAN summit in Laos, Marcos Jr. directly confronted Chinese Premier Li Kong, highlighting ongoing tensions in the South China Sea and the persistent harassment and intimidation faced by the Philippines. He urged for the acceleration of negotiations on the Code of Conduct in the South China Sea to ensure regional peace and stability. Furthermore, the Philippine government has taken a series of actions to push back against China's gray zone tactics in the South China Sea. The Philippine Armed Forces released images showing Chinese Coast Guard personnel blocking Filipino resupply missions, calling on the international community to recognize Beijing's actions as illegal, coercive, aggressive, and deceptive. These events illustrate that while the Philippine government seeks diplomatic means to ease tensions with China, it remains steadfast in defending its sovereignty and security interests. The Philippines is also actively seeking international support to counter growing regional threats. The South China Sea, once a thriving maritime hub filled with merchant ships and the songs of fishermen, has now become a battleground for great power rivalry. Competing interests and entanglements have turned it into a seemingly endless geopolitical chess match. And in this game, every decision and every move can stir new waves, reshaping the course of the future. The tides of history continue to drive the fate of the South China Sea. The next chapter remains unwritten, and only time will reveal the ultimate resolution of this contested region.
Thank you for watching for Vision Your Lens into Global Politics. If you found value in this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join the conversation, stay informed, and keep questioning the world around you.